Why did Warren Buffett suddenly start selling Bank of America in July 2024? And why does he keep dumping his bank stocks? This move has shocked financial analysts because Buffett is known for his buy and hold strategy. He rarely sells unless something big is coming. But here's where it gets even stranger. George Soros, another legend of finance, has also started unloading his shares in JPMorgan, the biggest bank in the world. Even Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JPMorgan himself, has announced plans to sell 1 million shares of his own bank before August 2025. Why are some of the richest men in the world, some of the best investors, insiders, and speculators running away from banking stocks? Do they know something we don't? Financially literate people, like the very select group who follows this channel, know very well that the Federal Reserve is the most powerful institution in the world. But there's a catch, because the Federal Reserve has shareholders, which are euphemistically called member banks. Yes, the Federal Reserve is owned by private capital, and they earn a big fat interest for every dollar in circulation. The Federal Reserve's shareholders are above the Federal Reserve, as they own it. And who are those shareholders or member banks? Nobody knows for sure. But the author of a controversial book published in 1952, Secrets of the Federal Reserve, claimed that he once held in his hands a copy of the charter certificate of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. I can't mention his name here because, well, YouTube might not like it. By cross-referencing the details in his book, a New York Times article from 1914, and other historical sources, I was able to reconstruct the rest of the information. Out of a total of 203,053 shares issued by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, a staggering 78,000 shares belonged to JPMorgan, or to banks that JPMorgan later acquired. That means roughly 1/3 of the New York Fed was controlled by JPMorgan, making it the main shareholder and effectively the apex of the global financial system. Now, let's connect this to recent developments. Reports have surfaced that Elon Musk and his team might be preparing to audit the Federal Reserve and even inspect the gold reserves of Fort Knox, two of the most powerful economic institutions in the world. What if they decided to audit the Federal Reserve? Or, in an extreme scenario, even end the Fed? I highly doubt that would happen. But let's not forget James Madison and Andrew Jackson already shut down two previous central banks in the United States. If a similar action were taken against the Federal Reserve today, it could trigger severe financial consequences, especially for its largest member bank and main shareholder, JPMorgan. Why? Because without the Fed, JPMorgan would be deprived of one of its most lucrative sources of income and its great leverage on the economic and political system. Could these investigations cause a financial turmoil that forces insiders to start dumping bank stocks fast? Stay with me, because we're just getting started. Also, there is this idea of a gold revaluation in the United States, which has become now mainstream. The idea is simple. By dramatically raising the official price of gold, the U.S. government could inflate the value of its assets, making its balance sheet look stronger. But how would this actually work? There are several possible approaches. A. The government could sell part of its gold reserves to pay off debt. B. It could issue new debt, backed by the newly revalued gold. C. It could print more money, using the increased gold valuation to justify repaying its own debt. D. Then there's the radical idea of minting a $36 trillion platinum coin, which the government could immediately use to eliminate the national debt in one stroke. Of course, these are all just magic tricks of financial engineering, not exempt from many undesirable consequences, and none of them would remove the structural problems of the US economy. Another important problem with this gold revaluation idea is that the Wall Street superbanks have been suppressing the price of gold and silver for decades, having been fined several times for that reason, betting against the metals with huge short positions. Their shorts can blow up in their faces, together with global metal exchanges like the COMEX in United States, the London Bullion Market Association in London, and the entire banking industry as a whole. The problems that banks might face are not something that should sadden many people, but let's not forget the 2008 financial crisis. Somebody will have to save them. Probably your taxes will, or even worse, many people could lose everything. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Also, you can get on Amazon my book, The Banking Revolutions. If you buy it and you find it valuable, a positive review would mean a lot to me and help me to create more content like this. In my book, I dive deep into the banking families, their role in gold price manipulation, their influence in global politics, and how they've shaped major crises, wars, and revolutions throughout the 20th century. The subject of the gold revaluation leads us to our next problem, because does the United States actually have any gold left? The gold reserves are supposed to be held in Fort Knox, but no one knows. The last real audit of Fort Knox, conducted by public representatives, happened way back in 1953. Then, in 1974, there was a partial visual inspection of some vaults. But let's be honest, that wasn't anywhere near a real audit. Bear in mind also that the United States is the custodian of the gold reserves of other countries, reserves which doesn't actually belong to the United States. But don't worry, the gold is probably there. Because if the gold isn't in Fort Knox, then where is it? Now buckle up, because this is where things get really interesting. In 2013, Zero Hedge published an article titled, "Why is JPMorgan's Gold Vault, the largest in the world, located next to the New York Fed?" And another one, "Is this where the secret JP Morgan London Gold Vault is located?" These articles are no longer available, but they can still be retrieved from archive.org. And what they reveal is stunning. They provide receipts, photos, and even the memoirs of an architect published in 1990, describing the construction of a 6-floor underground vault, longer than a football field, built directly beneath J.P. Morgan's offices at 60 Victoria Embankment, Manhattan. And where is that vault located? Right in front of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Is it there where the U.S. gold sleeps? And who owns that gold? Now let's connect some dots. In the last year, many apparently unrelated events took place. The war on Russia, the sanctions, and the seizure of Russian financial assets have triggered a massive loss of trust in the US-led financial system. This has accelerated the rise of BRICS, positioning it as a serious counterweight to Western dominance. America's hardline foreign policy has drained even more the country's credibility, pushing the world faster toward de-dollarization. Gold continues to skyrocket, even as a swift and almost certain peace deal with Russia is on the horizon. Meanwhile, gold bars are being flown back to the US from all over the world. The official reason? Trump's tariffs. But is that really the case? More likely, the banking elites are scrambling, desperately trying to repatriate gold to do some damage control. In relation to this fall of the dollar, Trump has promised to make US the crypto capital of the world. This offers a major signal about grim future for the dollar as a global currency. Could it be that Trump is offering us digital gold as an alternative because fiat money is already doomed, and physical gold is now virtually unavailable. Is it too late for Trump to save the Bretton Woods system based on the petrodollar? A global monetary crisis would also be a great opportunity for countries around the world to offer their solution, their beloved central bank digital currencies, a project they have been planning for many years. Can you imagine what comes next? It may seem like everything revolves around the United States, but in reality, the situation in Europe is far worse. While the US appears to have capitulated in the Russo-Ukrainian war, Europe seems determined to press on alone. Why and how? The entire European military force is a joke compared to Russia's vastly superior industrial base and manpower. According to former US President Donald Trump, the US has provided Ukraine with $350 billion, while Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán claims that the European Union has contributed 200 billion euros. United States still holds the world reserve currency, the printing press. But where did Europe got the money? The most likely answer: they leveraged most of the 300 billion euros using frozen Russian assets as collateral. In other words, they paid with someone else's money, the savings of the Russian people. And when the war ends, who will repay that debt to Russia? Certainly not Ukraine. These 300 billion euros in frozen assets are currently held in Euroclear, Europe's primary clearinghouse. If Euroclear defaults, it could trigger a catastrophic freeze across the entire European financial system, bringing securities, stocks, and bonds to a grinding halt. And let's not forget the exposure of German and Central European banks to financial derivatives. A crisis in Euroclear could set off a chain reaction with devastating consequences. So no, Europe's future looks no better. We are witnessing tectonic shifts moving in the geopolitical landscape. And beneath the surface, something is brewing in the financial system, something big. Will it be better than the current system? Maybe, or maybe not. Will it be bullish or bearish? It might happen in the next months, or it might happen in some years, but it certainly will happen at some point, and the transition to the new system will probably be extremely traumatic. In my opinion, a big crash would not be immediate, and it might be preceded by a new boom in the stock market. Why? Because the orchestra must keep playing, and the fireworks must light up the sky, keeping the masses distracted, while the Buffets, the Soros, and the Dimons quietly step into the lifeboats, leaving the Titanic behind. Are you prepared for an extreme financial reset? Do you own physical gold, silver, platinum, real estate, or some real assets like commodities? Crypto? What do you think comes next? Share your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It's free, and if more people like you find my work valuable, I will create more content. Spread the word. If there is a community interested, I will publish more content regularly. You can also expand this info and get an unbelievable amount of information on how the system works in my second book, The Banking Revolutions. Get it now in Amazon, and if you read it and you liked it, it would be very helpful that you leave a positive rating in Amazon.